Good morning, councillors, those here in attendance and those who might be tuning in now or in their own time. As we do meet here today on the unceded lands of Palawa people, the original and ongoing owners, I open today's ordinary meeting at 10:30 a.m. Please be seated. Thank you. And as we do open today's meeting as well, it's a requirement under the regulations of 2025 meeting procedures that I let everyone know that an audio-visual recording is being made of the meeting. All persons attending the meeting are to be respectful of and considerate towards other persons attending the meeting. Language and conduct at the meeting that could be perceived as offensive, defamatory or threatening to a person attending the meeting or listening to the recording is not acceptable. We have no apologies here today. We'll move through mayoral acknowledgements into declarations of interest at item 3. So, declarations of interest. A councillor must declare any interest that a councillor has in a matter before any discussion on that matter commences. Any declarations of interest?
Excuse me.
Councillor Pentridge?
I sort of feel a bit disappointed. I have no interest in the matter, but in the interest of smooth sailing, I'm more than happy to make myself not available. But I'm lost for how I have any interest in something that I disposed of a long time ago.
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Pentridge. So that's in the DA, in Planning Authority.
That's
Do we have an item, officers?
11.1.
Thank you. Councillor Kai, did you have a hand up or you were helping Councillor Pentridge?
No, I've got 19.1, sorry.
19.1. What's that? Oh, the approval? Yep. Yes, I understand. And Deputy Mayor? Okay, just prefacing closed council. Okay, any further declarations of interest? Okay, there being none, we will move forward. No further. We'll move forward to the confirmation of minutes. So there's a little bit going on here. So 4.1, we have the confirmation of the minutes. In the recommendation, it is that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the City of Launceston Council held on the 21st of August as circulated be amended at item 1 and 2, in particular with the opening of the meeting as now published. We've also then got the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the City of Launceston held on the 21st as circulated be amended at 11.2 for the Cimitiere Street Launceston visitor accommodation, as that item was withdrawn, and subject to the above amendments being made, the minutes of the ordinary meeting of the City of Launceston Council held on that same date as amended, confirmed as true and correct record. And just at 4, the minutes of the special meeting of the City of Launceston held on the 1st of September as circulated also be confirmed as a true and correct record. So noting that, it's been moved by Councillor Britton, seconded by Councillor Palmer. Any contributions around the table? Councillor Walker.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just rise to make some clarity around the request that is included in there, a question that I asked whether we could have called a special meeting to approve the item from that previous meeting, 11.2. And I appreciate that the question and the response is included there. I will note that I did ask that question, I do believe, after Council had the meeting had officially been closed, but nonetheless I did pursue that. It's unfortunate that at the same time there was another DA that did require approval and did go to a special meeting that this one could have gone to as well. It's a little comedy of errors, you might say, in that regard, but for the fact that there were people who attended that meeting, our last regular meeting, who did wish to speak to that item. And unfortunately, as we all know, they were not able to because we did not have quorum. So I'm just finishing this with a question. The minutes are being amended to include that question, but that question was not asked during the meeting. So just an explanation of that, if I may.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. CEO.
Through the chair, thank you, Councillor Walker. I've just been advised by governance that they, when preparing the minutes, they got it off the audio recording and confirmed that it was during the council meeting. So in preparation of the minutes and reviewing the audio, they can confirm that.
Yep. And for clarity, I think around the question that there is a difference between an item for debate that has no quorum and prior notice from a date issue being brought forward to a special meeting. I think it's stretching too far to think that it is a similar comparison in that respect. But thank you, Councillor Walker. Any further contributions? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Gibson against. The motion is carried. Council workshops at 5.1, we have the council workshops report on the 28th of August till the 4th of September, with the recommendation being that council notes the council workshops conducted and attended since the last council meeting for the purposes as published as a part of this agenda. Somebody please to move. Councillor McMahon? Seconded. Councillor Britton? Councillor McMahon?
If I can just make an amendment, please, for the workshop held on the 28th of August. I was actually an apology that day. I wasn't in attendance.
Thank you. Further contributions? Okay, to the vote. All those in favour with that amendment? All councillors present. The motion is carried. We have no councillors' leave of absence identified as part of this agenda at 6, so we move to community reports. At 7.1, we have Mr Tilbury with the Greater Regional City Challenge. Thank you, Mr Tilbury.
Good morning, and I'll just amend that I'm actually the president of the Great Regional City Challenge, not the Greater. The relevance of that is that in 2018, the Vice-Chancellor of UTAS advised Launceston shouldn't compare itself with Hobart and complain about Hobart getting preferential treatment, but rather to focus on comparing Launceston with other regional cities of the world. So hence the Great Regional City Challenge has set itself a mission to help make Launceston one of the great regional cities of the world. At that time, in 2019, City Council Mayor Van Zetten and the CEO then, Michael Stretton, liked the focus that we had on wider community and our focus on people and place, thriving economy, welcoming visitors and newcomers, and inclusiveness and diversity. And this led to the council providing us with some seed funding to get started in 2019. So what's our process? Well, we use a thing that we call people-powered process rather than the funder sort of top-down process, which is more generally used by governments or large corporates. And the GRCC, as a people-powered process, has governance and project teams which are 100% volunteer-run. We get broad community input to strategic direction. Our most recent strategy session end of last year had over 50 people who were invited to come along to give us a cross-section of the community, plus we had 5 facilitators. We're funded only by business and philanthropic donations nowadays. Agencies, organisations and interesting individuals can apply, which means that there is no auspicing required, which quite often happens with funding. The application form is only 200 words long, which makes it easy to anyone to apply, especially those with, linguistic skills and so on that are challenged. The way we select our projects is that the Launceston community is then votes online on our website, and we typically get over 7,000 votes cast from the community generally, which is very encouraging. Our highest voted projects complete a one-page plan with measurable KPIs. The funds that we provide, which are normally up to a maximum of $10,000, only flow as the work proceeds against those one-page plan items that are in their plan, obviously. We also request a half-yearly and an annual report, which means that there is a possibility of modifying timing, actions and funding, so it's quite flexible. Our results, we've raised over $650,000 in project funding and also in marketing support over the last number of years since we began. And that's funded 45 projects, funding things like, you may have heard of the UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy title that Launceston had been given. We paid $10,000 for the application for that to be written. We also fund Launceston Creates, which is a music, dance and visual art festival in Civic Square, and that'll be happening again this year with funding that we're providing. I saw you the other night, Mayor Garwood, at the fashion show for Redress Hub Recycling Clothing, which was an amazing success, and we've been funding them several times around now. The Australian first Aboriginal Launceston website, which is about life in this area of the Three Rivers before colonisation, is the first one that was done by a community anywhere in Australia. And it's been linked as well with funding that we gave to another team to actually link that to the educational curriculum. We're about to start a local campaign called I'm a Local, where you get a little badge for locals to wear so the visitors can say, where's the gorge, or whatever, so that actually we are welcoming visitors and newcomers. You have got the little flyers that I printed out for you. The benefits of this sort of approach are at the bottom there. You might have a look at those. I'd like to finish though by saying, since the council focuses its ABCD development project of asset-based community development and Tomorrow Together programs, they're both rightly focused on areas of disadvantage. I'd like to just end by saying, wouldn't it be a nice idea if Launceston City Council and the Great Regional City Challenge partnered to engage the whole community in making us one of the great regional cities of the world? And I'd be delighted to talk to anybody if you're at all interested in that sort of partnership. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Into questions by members of the public now. At 8.1, we have questions on notice by members of the public as published into part of this agenda. So we'll move forward to 8.2, which is questions without notice from the public there. So if we could just please start with your name and your suburb.
Hi, I'm Ian Kinninan, 20 Pine Avenue, Newstead. Just a couple of questions. One is what I think is going to be a distraction going down the Outlet Road, the $1 million artwork in the 90 kilometre zone. A year or so ago, I was going over the side lane, got to a corner, braked, locked up, and there's a car sitting in the middle of the road with its hazard lights on and 6 Chinese tourists taking photos of a fern tree or something like that. I can just imagine with no parking, I shouldn't maybe have parking, but with no parking down there, an already hazardous road with accidents happening there on a regular basis is going to be a huge distraction and cause more incidents there. So it's just a concern that all aspects of that has been looked at before it is placed there, and it's got to be moved.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Gingerton.
Secondly,
We'll be working incredibly closely with the Department of State Growth around the regulations and what's required there, and that work is absolutely being done.
Fantastic. Secondly, some heavy rain lately. It's nice to hear on the roof, but now I run down to the rivers and see how high they're rising. You were to do a flood report some time ago. There's lots of people interested in what's going to happen and how you're going to prevent floods in the future. Yet I haven't seen anything published from the council in any shape nor form on your websites, newspaper articles or anything there. So I think it'd be appreciated by a lot of people if they could see the progress that is making.
Thanks, Mr. Ginnan. So as a part of the publicly available agenda, we do have notices of motion and decisions of council and where they're sitting at. And I respect that Councillor Britton is pushing that heavily through internal channels here as well, but there are updates that are provided. If we could do a further update for you, I'm happy to take that part of it on notice.
I think that'd be appreciated. And lastly, I did ask a question about Japan. I've been there 4 times. Whilst we talk about our food here, I believe Japan's probably got the best food in the world outside of Spain, probably. And I think there's a lot to be learnt there. But it'd be interesting to know when you're next visiting Japan and what you've got on the agenda. So certainly with our hospitality industry wanting to improve, I suggested that you probably look at some exchange workers from Japan to Launceston to work in local restaurants, so we can say we're got the best food in Tasmania. Also the logging industry, they're very heavily into logging. They don't appear to have any homeless, so I'd be interested to know how they sort those issues out. They don't have to put the price of their cordial and drinks up and then have a container scheme to then recover container items because we're too lazy to pick them up. They don't seem to have a rubbish problem at all, so I'd be interested to see what they do from a recycling aspect over there. And I think also, very simply, it'd be easy for the council to have a website on Launceston in the sister city for them to access about Launceston, thus encouraging a lot more tourists. I mean, they do extremely well over there with 20 million tourists a year. And I think it'd be very easy to make Launceston Japanese friendly as well. From restaurants with their menus. I know you can get your phones and put over the top and get the food, but sometimes that's confusing in our terminology via the app. It will come up a lot different to what it really is. So, you know, to encourage restaurants to do their menus in Japanese and get a real working relationship with the sister city instead of something that is just seen once a year and then disappears.
Thanks, Ms. Skinner. We'll be discussing further Ikeda and Japan conversations through today's agenda, and there's an extensive economical and social benefit report that comes along with that then also. So I look forward to the conversations around the table that will be happening a little later in the agenda.
Sorry, I didn't see the agenda, so
That's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, great, thank you. Further questions without notice?
Good morning, my name's Nancy Ann Sarisia from 25 West Park Drive, West Launceston. I also own a small cottage in Lawrence Street. My questions, I have three. They're to do with fair procedures, specifically with the meeting that was held on the 21st of August in relation to 76 Cimitiere Street. So they're not to do actually with the item today, they're passed, so I think I'm speaking at the right time. Okay. On the 21st of August, it was stated that at the meeting, a quorum could not be achieved as Councillor Kai had made a declaration of interest on the matter. The Mayor stated that the quorum was 7 and that only left 6 councillors able to vote on the day. However, on that day, there were only 10 sworn-in councillors who could be permitted to vote. There were 2 councillor vacancies according to today's agenda on page 80. The 2 newly elected individuals were not sworn in and could not undertake their duties. Consequently, if there were only 10 sworn-in councillors on the 21st of August, the quorum should have been 5, half the number of councillors plus 1. Could you please enlighten us on why the quorum was calculated on 12 sworn-in councillors and not on 10?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you for the prior notice there also. I will get clarification from the CEO, but I believe that the absolute majority is from the number of office, not the number of sworn-in elected officials, but I will take that on notice or some further clarification. Yeah, we'll just double check that, but that's what I was led to believe, that it's number of office, not number of
Thank you.
representatives. Yeah.
Okay, second question. The Local Government Act Meeting Procedures Regulations 2025 states in Part 2 under the heading Meetings, Quorum 13.5, and I'm quoting, if a meeting lacks a quorum because a councillor declares a pecuniary interest and must leave the meeting, or at a later meeting when the matter is to be considered, to make up a quorum on condition that the minister may permit the council or the councillor who's declared the declaration of interest to remain in the meeting or at a later meeting when the matter is considered, to make up a quorum on condition that that councillor does not take part in any discussion or vote on the matter, and that's the end of the quote. Given the fact that Councillor Kai had disclosed a declaration before the day of the meeting and 1 councillor was on leave, plus there were 2 vacancies on the council as the 2 newly elected councillors were not sworn in, the likelihood of achieving a quorum on that day to vote on 76 Cimitiere Street was precarious, to say the least. So did the General Manager seek permission from Minister Vincent for Councillor Kai to stay in the meeting so as to retain a quorum?
Thank you, and thank you for the question. I think there's a good example of the ways in which councillors make the choice from what Councillor Pentridge said at the start of the meeting and around it is the councillor's choice whether to put themselves out of the room or stay in the room.
That's not exactly the question I asked.
So
the
CEO,
answer.
I won't speak for the CEO around that process, but CEO.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you for your question. I'm happy to take it on notice to ensure we actually get a detailed response back to you. But just by way of summary, you'll also appreciate that apologies to that meeting also weren't known until the day for some particular councillor. So to be able to preempt the number on the day was rather difficult. We actually didn't know until we were in the moment on that day. Obviously, that could have been avoided should we have actually had some councillors attend on that particular day, but for varying reasons, some councillors were unable to attend. So unfortunately, given we weren't aware of the numbers until the day, which is incredibly unfortunate, I certainly was not able to contact the Minister and get the appropriate approval accordingly. Had we had notice of it and we had a number of councillors on leave and leave submitted, then obviously we could make the calculations and determination before the meeting, which would have provided adequate time for me to be able to approach the Minister accordingly.
Okay, thank you. Question 3. The final question relates to a special meeting which Councillor Walker on the 21st of August asked if there was any reason why one could not be held at a later date so that elected councillors could act as the planning authority in regard to 76 Cimitiere Street. The General Manager acknowledged that a special meeting could be called, but the very next day undertook his delegated duties and stamped approval for this development, despite a decision not needing to be made until the 1st of September. What procedures are needed to request a special meeting? And was Councillor Walker informed of these procedures after he verbally expressed the possibility of a special meeting being held? I'm mainly concerned because this development was stamped very quickly the next day. I'm wondering if Councillor Walker was actually advised how to go about requesting a special meeting. Did he know before it was stamped?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the question, CEO.
Thank you through the chair, and again, thank you for the question, and I will answer it and also take it on notice because I think the public will gain benefit in actually understanding the process and how a special council meeting can be called.
I do understand it. I'm just asking you what happened.
I think it'd be good for the public record also. Councillor Walker was advised, as well as other councillors, and I certainly don't want to speak for Councillor Walker, and we subsequently had a phone conversation after the email went out, advising councillors exactly how a special council meeting can be called. It's not called by myself, it's called by the number of councillors and, of course, approaching the Mayor's office. So I can assure you that even approving that under my delegation was not something that I was looking forward to doing, and time was against us on that particular application, but I will take on notice exactly the process because I think the public will benefit, and I can assure you that councillors were emailed the process for calling a special council.
That was before you stamped approval for the DA the next day?
Through the chair, I actually don't even know the timing of it. I think it might have been after, and I'm looking at Councillor Walker for that particular.
Well, that wouldn't do him any good, would it?
Happy to provide an actual copy of my email so you can actually see exactly what we're saying, and we can include that in the minutes.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Further questions without notice?
Well, look, I'm not sure that it's the right time, but I stand before you. First of all, I would like to I stand up before you to inform you of a tragedy of biblical proportions that is taking place right now.
Just name and suburb.
Yeah, my name is Arthur Bellato. I live in Turners Marsh. I here present you the ultimate predator. This thing is actually going to change the land before your eyes. This thing is absolutely devastating our flora and fauna of an incredible devastation. The council must accept blame for spreading this thing. In my property just about 8 weeks ago, the council was actually mowing the nature strip. And the seeds that come from here, this is actually called Erica lusitanica, commonly known as the Spanish heath. It actually originates from the Iberic Peninsula. The Iberic Peninsula, it's bordered by basically two nations, Spain and Portugal. And this thing is adapted really well to our environment. Why? Because it can actually withstand frost, temperatures up to minus 20 degrees, because in Spain and Portugal, it can get really cold in wintertime, if you've ever been there. And also in summer, extreme heat. Perfect. Perfect. Now, this thing doesn't actually grow downwards. The roots are actually traveled sideways. I'm happy to show that around. You can pass it around, Councillor, if you wish. You will actually notice that the rhizome has got spikes, which is excellent to actually take all the nutrients from the land. Now, that thing is responsible for killing all our flora. The flora that are paddy melons, bennets, greys, bandicoots, possums, they eat. This thing is killing it. So whenever you're driving around the road and you kid yourself, because that's what you do, you kid yourself saying, oh, the native fauna is thriving in Tasmania. Well, think again. The actual numbers put up by the WWMF shows that a decline of 30% of the last 40 years. So whenever you see an animal on the road dead, it's on your shoulders. Why? Because that animal took the ultimate risk to get food. And you have actually allowed that thing to spread. Incredible. My land to the southern side, about 5-6 months ago, they were only just on the perimeter, just on the fringe, because that thing is very clever, on the fringe of the land. Now it's completely covered, 20 acres completely covered by that thing. So the question is, how is the council going to eradicate this thing? This requires an answer right now. I also want to thank to two people in particular, Mr. Harris and Mr. Palmer. They've been very, very kind. They took the time to listen to me, to understand the emergency that needs to be put in place today, not tomorrow. I talked to people from Landcare, cul-de-sac. I spoke to NRM, Miss Lauren Bird's, closed door. I even tried to reach, as suggested by Mr. Harris, to reach the Department of Natural Resources and Environment. I left 3 messages on the biosecurity issue, doors closed. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? Or are you going to leave these chambers in about, an hour time? And you're going to forget about the botanical name of that plant? And you're probably going to be thinking, oh, should I actually have salmon and avocado on a toasted red? Or maybe I should go a little bit more exotic. Maybe I should actually have got scallop pies. This is on your heads. This needs action now. You cannot leave it. Next year is going to be statistically 50 times more difficult, and the year after, your land will change. So how are you going to respond to your grandchildren before you die? And when he actually says you, Grandma, you've done an absolutely obvious job in actually keeping our land. The action needs to be taken now. And I beg you to do it now. Don't leave it behind. The animals are absolutely desperate for food. I actually lived for a while in South Launceston, right? Talbot Road and Bennett Street, so people know it, about 3 kilometres away from the golf club. And every day I saw the paddy melons and the grey ones come to my land. 3 kilometres away, right through the golf club. Why is that? Well, because the animals cannot eat a high level of nitrogen and grass from the Gulf. They can't. So they have to wander off 3 kilometers away, taking huge amount of risk, because there's one animal that all animals on Earth fear the most, and that's us, humans. So the animals wander off bouncing, hopping around on the actual footpath, on the actual road, because they need food. Exactly the same way that the children in Gaza, they're actually taking a risk when they have to go in front of the IDF to take food. The question is, what are you going to do? How are you going to respond to your grandchildren in 10 years' time? The action must happen now. Please, I ask the stakeholders, the landowners, to be made aware of it. I know that this goes on record. We must take action today. Tomorrow is too late. NRM, when I spoke to Lauren, she said, we're going to put a 10-year plan. I said, look, darling, in 10 years' time, all the animals will be dead. So, if you really care about that flag, if you really care about the land actually being shined every day by the Southern Cross, you will do something about it today, not tomorrow. It's on your shoulders. Otherwise, I'll see you in court because I've got no choice. You're actually killing my animals. Now, imagine you live right next to a farm that is actually growing cattle, and you've got a weed which is actually making the animals sick. What do you think your neighbor is going to do? He's got to come and ask you, hey, listen, get rid of the wheat because you're killing my animals. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing to my neighbours and to the council. The procedure has to change radically. It's very simple. I'm sorry to take your time. Pull it out, bag it, and burn it. That's the only way. If he hasn't floured, it's simple. Acetic acid, 15%, that's strong vinegar. You just spray it before they flower, and that kills it. It's very environmentally friendly. The issue is simple. I'm not going to bother you with all the statistics of how to save the environment, but you have got a responsibility here today. Today, you will make a huge difference to all the animals that actually are dead on the road. So please do something about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Butler. We do appreciate your time. It's not a waste of time. We appreciate your advocacy coming in here, and I can see the CEO taking notes on there, and like you said, it's on record, so this won't be something that's ignored. It will be responded to, and I think that councillors around the table have seen your passion for this, and I personally look forward to seeing what that response is as to how we can work together for the best of parts of our community in that. So thank you. Thank you for coming in and for your advocacy. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any further questions without notice? Okay. There being no further questions, we'll move through the agenda through 9 and 10, as we have no petitions or deputations identified as a part of this particular agenda. We move into Planning Authority. So, under the provisions of the Land Use Planning and Approvals Act of 1993, Council acts as a planning authority in regard to items included in agenda item 11, Planning Authority. At 11.1, thank you, noting Councillor Pentridge's declared interest, we have 10 Dolerite Drive in Kings Meadows. Before we get to the recommendation, do we have any speakers from the public first?
Yes, we do, Mr Mayor. My name is Glenn Williams, and today I represent Mr and Mrs Mike and Sarah French. Made representation in relation to this matter. I understand I have 2 minutes allocated time to speak to their representation. It would not be possible to go through all of the representation. Quite a lot of the matters are very detailed. It's an important decision that you have today as a council. We ask that you be guided by the comprehensive evidence that supports the representation that's been placed before you. I acknowledge Mark Petrusma and Michelle Schleiger for their excellent and detailed work. Your legislative duties are well set out in your materials that I've seen in the agenda. In short, this is a misplaced spot zoning. It's in the wrong place, it's in the wrong era. Detail that later on. The application itself fails. It does not identify the special qualities to support the zone change. It doesn't support a zone change for a supermarket in Connector Park. Come to the key points. It takes away industrial land forever. It won't return. And light industrial land in that proximity is an ever-diminishing resource. The retail assessment that's been supporting or is said to support the application is LIT, light on. We are very critical of that. The significant benefit threshold, those a particular phrase that you need to look out for, is not reached. We say the evidence says it's not even close. It will lock in perpetual conflict of land use. From a traffic angle, it very much goes against the trend. Like many people in northern Tasmania in the last few years, I've learned to get into the right-hand lane when heading south. I don't live here, I live in Launceston. But I know that if you're heading south at a certain time of the day, you get in the right-hand lane because of the traffic queuing that is already there. This development will make it a lot worse. One of the proposals to ease the pain is a metered roundabout. What is a metered roundabout? I asked myself. A metered roundabout is a roundabout with traffic lights to try and allocate and ration the time, because there's a lot of jokes about Tasmanians not doing well with roundabouts. This is one way to deal with it, but this is not as big as the railway roundabout in Hobart, which is the only other Tasmanian, example I can think of. Do we really want that here? Do we really want pedestrians and semi-trailers mixing together in that intense location? We say no. The safety and inconvenience issues are well documented by Patrisma. We say you should not be tempted to kick the can down the road to the Planning Commission. There is sufficient evidence in your papers today and in the representations to consider the matter carefully and to decline the representation. Matt, please.
Further speakers to the item? Okay, there being none, we'll move forward to the recommendation. Mr. Baxter?
Is it appropriate to respond there, is it?
You can use this time to address the council, and that would be an appropriate time, but there won't be any discussion or debate around the issues that were raised then, but the councillors have an opportunity to hear and to create and formulate their own questions. But if you want to use this time, yeah.
David Baxter, Prospect IGA, Blackstone Heights, Sandy Bay and Snug in Hobart. Been in this business 50 years next year. Started with Rothfuss Supermarkets. Area manager for Launceston, opened most of the stores here in Launceston over the last 5 decades. Worked with Michael Kent in Hobart, with developments down there. The analysis that we did stacked up 100% in the need for it. That area was originally industrial. Council made the decision to change it to domestic dwellings. There's over 1,000 houses there now, with more properties to go in, with the sale of Bill Allen's property there, which was Allen's Growing Centre. So I cannot see, and I would not be putting a supermarket there myself in that area when I'm only a few kilometres away. And with the intensity of Woolworths and Coles, I compete with 12 Woolworths and Coles within 2 minutes at Prospect to 22 minutes if I go to Mowbray, Riverside or as far as Legana. We're currently working on a new site in Legana as well, which will go ahead very soon. We have the council support there. But I just wanted to communicate there that I've done a lot of work on this site and understand completely the need. Kings Meadows is a bottleneck these days. It's a nice area, but Launceston has grown. I've worked in Hong Kong and China for 6 years. Our population here is a pocket full of people, 539,000 people. The average density in Australia is 200 people per square kilometre. It's 2,000 people per square kilometre in Shanghai and India. And it makes me appreciate, after taking scouts here for 10 years, all the natural beauty. Anyway, that's beside the point. But just to support Tasmania, Launceston, I think it's a great city with a lot of great future. And I believe, personally, with everything we've done there, stacks up 100% to support a new retail shop in that area to support the people. And the word of mouth coming back from the general public there, David, when's it happening? What's the stall? It was March 22 we submitted this. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no further speakers, we'll move to the recommendation. The recommendation being that council amend the permit to include the published conditions. It amends Instrument 1 to insert the words gross floor area and recommends to the Tasmanian Planning Commission that the combined draft amendment be approved with the recommended changes. Somebody to move. Deputy Mayor has moved. Seconded. Seconded by Councillor Britton. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. And we aren't the planning experts. We sit as a planning authority and we've got to judge our decisions based on advice given by our council officers and take into account representations that have been processed and provided, and significant amount of information has been provided in regards to the development application and the scheme change by representors, and I thank them for the work that they've done in regard to that. When you read through, the council officers have given responses to all of those issues that have been raised, and at the end of that have still determined that this is a development application and a scheme amendment that should be approved and sent to the Planning Commission. Issues regarding traffic are always an issue at the Kings Meadows roundabout. There's an argument to say that, I guess, people coming off the right-hand one will actually make the traffic flow more evenly on the basis that traffic at the moment, where there's not much coming out of that lane coming out of Dolerite Drive, there's less traffic that's going to sort of emanate there, so more coming through there will actually help the roundabout actually work better, I think, in my personal view. It's not an engineer's view, but I am comfortable that some of these things are likely to find their way into the Planning Commission, and therefore there'll be a further summary of that at a later stage by the Planning Committee. I am comfortable. I've looked at this development over a number of years. It was a larger scale one. It was scaled down to meet more appropriately the circumstances, but we are aware of residential development that have been at the back of Connector Park and also on the other side of Connector Park that have developed significantly over the last few years, and therefore brought more residences into play. And as a consequence of that, the need, which is why the developer has put their hand up to actually develop this, and as he said, he's been going at this since 2022, so therefore he believes there is a market there. Is this fragmentation of the market? As also said, Kings Meadows is a very busy area now. I appreciate there's another IGA further out towards Youngtown, but at the end of the day, is this still appropriate with the size and of the domestic activities in and around the area? And I guess the other area was actually accessibility by people as pedestrians and people on bikes. That's been dealt with in relation to the fact that grants been given to enable us to improve the pedestrian walkways and also put areas in place for bikes to process down. So I'm comfortable to support this today because I think there is a need for the increased domestic population that live in the area.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Second to Councillor Britton.
Thank you very much. I rise to support the development today as well. I think Councillor Mackenzie sort of covered everything off. I understand there's a few issues with traffic, pedestrian safety. It is going to bring more movements into the area and whatnot. I struggle to sympathise as much. We are next to a Bunnings and a massive industrial area. I don't think this is going to blow anything too far out of proportion. That entire area is growing and is set to grow. We know there's a traffic issue out there at the moment, but I believe that'll be dealt with. And overall, I think this is a bit of a natural progression of the area, and I'm happy to support it today. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Britton. Further contributions? Councillor Walker.
Questions, if I may, to start, Chair. If you could just explain, I mean, in the light, if I may address the council officers, the light industrial zone does provide for uses which are supportive of the light industrial zone. Why is that not enough in itself before we look at the site-specific amendments?
Through you, Executive Leader.
Thank you. So the light industrial zone allows for, like you said, a range of uses, including bulky goods, and what this one is applying for is general retail and hire. Currently, it has a qualification in the use table for local shop, which is defined essentially a convenience item you might find, in a suburb. This is larger than that, but not so large that it's, I guess, like a Coles or Woolworths you might find in Kings Meadows. So that's the requirement for the site-specific qualification that's been applied for.
Thank you. And the site-specific qualification within the use table for general retail and hire to allow a supermarket up to 1,000 metres in size, is that specifically allowed under that specific qualification? then? Is it a specific qualification just for that type of use, I suppose?
That's right. It's the way it's worded, and would, if it all goes through, would appear in the local provisions schedule. It would limit to a 1,000 square metre supermarket.
Yeah, I'll speak, thank you. And I appreciate the interest and the debate around this particular, I'm not even sure if we call it rezoning, really, is it? Because it's the same zone, it's just the specific qualifications. Would that be correct? It's not a rezoning? Yep. So, some of the commentary that I've read, it does talk about rezoning, and I'm thinking, well, it's not quite rezoning. It's an adaptation of the use. And under the light industrial zone, this is similar to the type of use that can be provided for that is supportive of light industrial activities. So it's a nuanced argument, I suppose, at that point, whether 1,000 square metres fits into that category or not. I'm taking that advice that it doesn't, and that this is why these efforts are taking place. I'd be the first to agree also in the area. It's far from perfect, the planning that has gone on there for a long time, and we're talking, the last 20, 25 years or so, not just, the light industrial area itself, but the southern outlet, the connector road, the housing developments, all are things that are competing interests, just as you'll find if you go down the road to Kings Meadows and you've got two supermarkets with competing interests of people trying to get home, going through the guts of that suburb. These are things that we deal with all the time, competing interests. And that certainly is the case up there, and I accept those arguments that, yes, although we're making provision for footpaths and bicycle paths and things like that, it's not perfect. It's not perfect that people who live opposite there will find an easy way to get across at the moment, the connector road. It's the case that it may add additional traffic to the area. That's most likely. It might be the case, as the Deputy Mayor postulates, that it might improve the flow of the roundabout. It might not. We're not traffic experts, but we are here to consider what I would say is a fairly minor adjustment to a use that would normally be permitted in that area. So I'm a little perplexed at the amount of interest and the commentary around it. It is problematic. Are we to say that we don't put supermarkets in busy areas anymore because of that? I don't think we will. You could look at Mowbray, you could look at Kings Meadows. This is going to be a site that, yes, by and large, will be accessed via vehicle movements, perhaps by bikes, perhaps by walking a little bit. It will service that immediate light industrial zone. There must be, maybe 100, maybe 200, 300 people working in that area during the daytime who might well access this for their kitchen, for their workers, for their lunch, whatever it may be, or to buy something on the way home from work. So it's many and varied. And I don't think that we can paint this as one thing that will break the horse's back when it comes to traffic movements in the area, the one thing that will break the back in terms of the use of the area. It will complement the use of the area. It's not perfect. I would agree with that entirely. And if I had a chance, if any of us had a chance, we would probably redesign that whole area because it is problematic. I was stuck there recently, in a 500-metre queue trying to get down into Kings Meadows. I know what it's like. And it could get worse if there's more housing developments in the area. I accept fully that we have to make more provisions and master plan that area in conjunction with the state government because it's their road at the end of the day, and that will help. But I do not think that an IGA convenience supermarket is the thing that will be the problem in that area. I understand it will contribute to traffic movements, but by and large, they will be people who are going past there anyway, on their way home from work, on their way to work, on their way to get petrol, on their way to Bunnings, whatever it may be. They're going to be in that area. They're not going to be people who live in Youngtown and decide to go there, or live in Kings Meadows even and decide to go there. It's most likely people who will be passing that way anyway. And that's unqualified traffic advice from me, but I will support the amended use.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Further contributions? A question, Councillor Harris?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a question for the officers regarding the change that we're putting in and how that could in the future be amended or expanded. We're saying there's going to be 1,000 square metres of supermarket. Many businesses may start at a certain size, but then decide we want to expand. You know, trade's been so good, we need more floor area. And therefore, is there a process for them to expand that beyond this, or will it in fact come back to this table? If you could explain, please.
Yeah, they're limited to the 1,000 square metres. So if in 5-10 years they say, well, hang on, this is going great, we need to expand, it'd be another scheme amendment.
Councillor Harris to speak.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this one, when it came before us, I also have struggled with it because it's not good planning to be doing it. But as Councillor Water and Councillor Mackenzie has said, this is a expansion of a local shop, if you like, to 1,000 square metres. And I fully understand that it doesn't meet good planning. However, I'm sure that 9 out of 10 or more people will arrive and depart from that site in a car. And as such, it will add some traffic, but a lot of that traffic is existing going through that area. As Councillor Walker said, there are either workers going home, whatever it may well be. Certainly from my experience, I also have sat very regularly in that queue because that is the way I often go home to Norwood. And certainly more traffic coming down Dolerite Drive will in fact enable the roundabout to work better because people give way to their right, and it's the constant stream from Hobart Road that causes the delay. Having traffic arriving at from Dolerite Drive will in fact make that traffic from Hobart Road have to give way to their right, which then allows traffic coming from the outlet to enter the roundabout to either continue to Dolerite Drive or round down towards Kings Meadows. So I believe, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but I have studied it much more than I have ever wanted to because it is a frustration of why that is there because of the safety aspects. But I also feel that unlike the Norwood store, which many have compared it to, the Norwood IGA, which has 2 retirement villages where people can walk very simply to the IGA, and yet I would say over 8 out of 10 people still arrive and depart by car. And even though there is no real walking residential area, you've got to cross the busy connector road, I do feel that it will be car-based, and hence the lack of suitable footpath. And whilst we are got something on, we do have things planned which will make it more attractive to try to do it that way. I'm quite comfortable to support it again today, and let's just leave it at that.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Any further contributions? Anything to close? Oh, Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Mayor. All the questions have been asked, all the questions have been answered. All those questions are also in the agenda, and they've been answered in the agenda there from our council officers, so thank you very much. And I thank the speakers for coming in today. And Mr Baxter put it that there's 1,000 new homes there, and I agree with him. Just like I do up the road from me, I have a local store that I go up to occasionally, and why shouldn't those people have one up the road from them as well? So I fully support this today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Palmer. Councillor Gibson.
Thanks so much. Obviously, last time this was considered, it was almost unanimous. It was all but one councillor on the day. The next day, the councillor who voted against it put up a sign at an opposing IGA supermarket, so perhaps that was the reason. But regardless, the question for me is whether or not the conflict is apparent with regard to the scheme. And for me, it supports and is not in conflict with regard to the scheme, particularly 8.1.2. I think what the exhibition of this has done is actually enabled the 3 representatives to ask and interrogate with lots of questions. For me, those questions, the responses and the things contained within the officer report, which is fantastic, will be forwarded to the Commission and will support the process that the Commission will undertake with regard to this draft amendment. I think importantly, comparisons have been made, but the reality is that they're nothing but hypotheticals. This is considering a particular parcel of land for a particular use and its suitability against the instruments we're required to consider. And I think the officer reports last time, and indeed the rigour of this time's report, suggests that it is not in conflict and should be supported, and I'll be continuing to show my support today.
Thanks, Councillor Gibson. No further contributions to close?
Just finally, I mean, this process has been going since 2022. I think the proponent advised, and I know it hasn't been an easy run. Council has interrogated the process all the way through, suggested that the building in the first instance was not the size and scale it should be in relation to the matter. That's been worked through with diligence with the council officers and the proponent to get to where we've got to today. I appreciate the comments and I guess a contrary view, and as Councillor Gibson said, this matter will all go to the Commission and then they will decide based on that, and if there's any requirement for any further appeal at that stage, then they will determine that. And I'm comfortable there's been a very solid process put in forward by our officers to ensure that this is a development we can support.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. So putting it to the vote then, all those in favour? That's all councillors present. The motion is carried. Moving to 11.2, we have 35 Melbourne Street in South Launceston. Again, before we get to the recommendation, is there any noted speakers to 11.2?
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you.
Dwayne Kirkby is my name. I live in South Launceston. My home is to the rear and the south of the proposed development. I put in a representation simply asking for more clarification in relation to the relevant height of the proposed building relevant to my residence, as well as the more detail in relation to the shade impact on my house. The town planner has made some efforts to answer those questions for me, but despite her best efforts, the developer has said that as the plans are within the building envelope at the rear and meet all setback criteria, they are not obligated to provide any more information. I think my requests are reasonable, and you'll notice in your annexure the front corners of the house, which are the highest points of the proposed building, are outside the building envelope. I can't be sure, and I've tried, but no one's been able to assure me that those corners don't adversely contribute to shading of my residence. And further, on page 45 and 46 of the annexure, you'll see the shading projections relevant to my residence. I simply asked if those shade projections are onto the footprint of my home or onto the roof of my home. Obviously, that makes a huge difference as to how deeply the shade is projected into the habitable rooms of my house. And again, I was told they didn't have to answer that question, which I don't think it's unreasonable for me to get an answer to that question. And if they don't answer it, it makes me wonder if they actually know the answer themselves. So all I'm asking is that question be answered, and if it can't be answered, or the projections are indeed onto my roof, I again request shading projections from alternative perspectives. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Whilst we won't answer that question now, the councillors may have the ability to ask that once the recommendation is put forward. So, being a live agenda item.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other noted speakers for 11.2? Okay, we'll move to that recommendation now, which is the recommendation that a permit be granted for residential construction of an additional dwelling at 35 Melbourne Street, South Launceston, subject to the published conditions. Somebody to move? Councillor Pentridge has moved, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Pentridge?
Well, I am happy enough. We've had a policy about infilling. They're all huge blocks, which was the way it was in that era. I'm not a great supporter of new modern structures. That Melbourne Street's one of the, and being on the Heritage Committee, We have a lot of very well-kept, nice houses in that street. And I'm well aware that we can't go telling people what to build. Would have been nice to have seen something built there that was more in keeping with the houses around it. But nevertheless, I'm a supporter of it, so best of luck.
Thanks, Councillor Pentridge. We'll go to the seconder with a question, and then Councillor Britton with
I
a
just
question.
wouldn't mind the representator's question being addressed before I actually speak. Is that possible in regard to the overshadowing aspects?
Thank you.
So in terms of what we need to do to assess the development application, we need to assess the impacts. Where something meets an acceptable solution, the impacts of that element of the building are deemed to comply with the scheme. So whilst I absolutely empathise with the neighbour's desire to know the outcome, we are satisfied from our assessment that it meets the required standard. So in order to understand the detailed impact on the neighbour, we will have to get some survey levels and other things, which is not necessarily something we can ask for, given that we're confident that the development meets the required standard, because there is cost and other implications in doing so. So whilst it's absolutely understand the representative's desire to want to know, the planning officer's report outlines that we are confident that that is an acceptable impact to the rear, from the house to the rear.
Yeah, thank you for that answer, because when I read through the representations, I will speak now, Mayor.
Thank you.
I stand to support the development application. When I read through the representations, most of them are actually not necessarily against the development. It's more the understanding of some of the things like have been put forward by the representative today, and there are a couple like the back, the shading and privacy of the back deck and things like that. So it's more just a lack of information in regards to it. But I do also understand, you know, our standards are built, I think, basically are designed around a 400 square metre block, which is on a flat bit of land. So therefore, anything that's not on a flat bit of land is usually going to end up using performance criteria to actually determine whether it's acceptable or not. Most of the setbacks fit. Obviously, at the front of the residence, there's obviously a greater height that goes outside the building envelope, I think both on the eastern and the western side, by a small amount. I understand from the assessment and from what the Director has just mentioned, that basically that overshadowing aspect that comes from the out of spec size is still okay, and therefore not causing undue inconvenience to the properties. To me, again, I appreciate Councillor Pentridge's comments about like for like. Unfortunately, this day people are going to build different houses because that's just the style of where we're at. And I think this one's a lightweight built house. It's on an area which I think was traditionally known as landslip, but now not on the basis of planning. So therefore that is not an issue associated with it. I think the only other major discretion is just one parking place for the residents of Unit 1, which is the existing residence, and determine that the ability to park on the road is still there for people to visiting the properties. So whilst I accept and understand the concern shown by the representative, and I think in one or two other cases in not knowing, the reality of it is it fits the scheme, it meets the planning either on performance criteria or the planning scheme outright, and therefore I think this is something we need to approve today.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. I had a question, Councillor Britton. Answered it? Great, thank you. Further contributions? Councillor Gibson, a question?
Thanks so much. Certainly appreciate the advice provided there by Manager of Planning. I guess my question relates to amenity and the impact on amenity, and in particular the use of their habitable space at the back of their property, and the impact on amenity without being able to refer or utilise the appropriate shade dimensions. So my question specifically is, how is amenity measured without the need for shadow diagrams that truly define or determine what the impact will be on the back neighbour.
I'm not entirely sure I understand the question. The building envelope is the space within which the building can be built. The building is within that towards the rear of the property. Now the deck, the open space, is closer to the boundary than the acceptable solution, or one option in the acceptable solution, but there is a second limb of the acceptable solution which requires it to be screened, and that's what's being proposed in this. Now, amenity for the people on the deck or amenity for the neighbours. The people on the deck will enjoy their deck like everybody else. It is slightly different dimensions than might be the acceptable solution, but it's still of a functional size. So particular times of the day, they will enjoy their deck. They have a deck at the front as well. In terms of the impact on the neighbours' amenity from people using that deck at the rear, that's like every other suburban situation where there's decks close to boundaries. So, if they have a noisy party, the neighbours will hear.
Specifically, the question around amenity with regard to the shadow diagrams not needing to determine the impact on the neighbour's habitable space because the building is within the envelope.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
And
So
specifically its connection to amenity in that regard for them.
So from a planning perspective, a significant number of the houses built in Launceston don't require a planning permit because they are inside the envelope. Now, that doesn't mean you can't see them from the neighbouring blocks, and it doesn't mean they won't impact or have some impact on the neighbours. So if you build a double-storey house within the building envelope, it is likely to overshadow neighbouring properties up for portions of the day. So the building envelope doesn't guarantee no impact, but it's an acceptable impact. It's a deemed to comply impact. So in terms of the neighbouring property, we haven't analysed that in its entirety because it's inside the envelope and deemed to comply. Yeah, so in order for us to analyse that in detail, we would have to ask for information that's not relevant to the assessment, which is not something that we generally do.
Thank you. Further speakers? Sorry. Further speakers? Councillor Harris?
Yeah, thank you. I seem to be a bit confused. Looking at those shadow diagrams, it looks quite clear to me that at times the house to the rear will have 2 or 3 hours of sunlight on the worst day into basically all parts of the house because it's not in the shadow, regardless of whether that shadow falls on the roof or that shadow falls on the foundations. And of course, that is the worst day of the year, the 21st of June. After that, the sun gets higher and therefore the shadows do decrease. And so in the middle of summer, like we are now, well, not quite, we're still spring, I suppose, near the equinox, it actually is halfway to what it will be like in December. The location of this block is in fact impacted because the sun doesn't get over High Street till somewhat later than where my place at Norwood, and the sun comes up over Mount Barrow a bit earlier. I get to see the sun and the shadows are different because of that. So I think in this particular case, as others have said, we are supporting infill and this meets the requirements of the scheme. Any change, regardless of whether it was a single-storey house, will still have some impact to people who currently have someone's backyard as a neighbourhood view. And I certainly do feel for those who will have their view impacted because of the height of this house. However, there will be still views that you will have in other parts of your existing house. But this is, as you say, under the planning scheme, and that's how we must view it, not whether we personally like it. The planning scheme conditions have been met, and as such, we really have very little wriggle room to not approve this today, because if it was taken to the Planning Commission, I'm sure they would indicate to them that this has met all of the conditions as a performance criteria rather than perhaps directly meeting it. And people seem to think that performance criteria is a lesser meeting of the scheme. It isn't. It is the same. It is just met by a different means. And so I will be supporting the application today to build this house, but I do very much understand the neighbours' concerns. I wish I could do something about it. Interestingly, looking at the shadow diagrams, the rear deck on the new property will never get any direct sunlight on the 21st of June. It will be in shade the whole time. Personally, that happens on my front deck too. I hadn't thought about it until today. I don't use the front deck very much, so you
Councillor
probably
Harris.
won't see many people on the back deck.
Keep it relevant to the...
I was referring to the closeness to the property. So, as I said, I think we'll have to approve it today. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. I've got a question, Councillor Walker.
Thank you. I do have a few questions, and I'll just start with the outside, usable outside recreational space. I know that's one of the areas where it does rely on performance criteria, doesn't meet the acceptable solution. I do think a performance criteria is the poor cousin, really, of the acceptable solution, but it's probably not true. They are both pathways forward, but in this case, we have the relying on performance criteria, which I just don't quite understand, because it would seem that the strata number 2 is surrounded by a certain amount of outdoor space. So I just wanted to clarify that 24 square metres and the stipulations around that. We're talking about 8.4.3.
So
private open space.
Because the living area is upstairs, this isn't that they haven't got space around the house. There is plenty of space around the house. The block is actually reasonably big, and there is a big forecourt, and so if you are space for people riding a bike or kids playing, the criteria is about directly accessible off a living space. So the question here is the deck. There are 2 decks of approximately 6. One is about 6 by 2.7, if my eyes can be trusted. And one is, 2 of similar size. So there is enough space to have your table and chairs and other things on the deck. But because they don't meet the minimum size requirement, they trip into the performance criteria. But our assessment is, given that there is a significant deck off the dining and kitchen, and there is a deck off the living to the rear, and then there's a significant forecourt area outside the front of the dwelling, that's a reasonable proposition for the people that live there.
Further question, Councillor Walker?
Yeah, similarly, there is an issue, and I don't believe it's listed under the table that lists the standards assessed through performance criteria, but in regards to the brick wall of 1 metre, there's something to do there with the appearance of that wall and how that has to meet the standards via performance criteria. Is that correct, or just that we have accepted that it doesn't meet them, but we don't think that that's a problem? I'll have to dig it out myself because it's not listed in the initial table there under the information, but I'll dig it out if you can't.
This is another good example, councillors, in which we have our agenda for a week and we have our planning officers readily available to ask these questions before we get here today. The fact that we're scrimmaging through agendas infuriates me, to be honest, if I can speak so frankly.
A point of order, Chair. I don't believe that we're scrimmaging through. I'm addressing a specific concern.
And I'm addressing, Councillor Walker, that this council has a week of work to be done, officers available, and we continue to sit here and use our ratepayers' time and resources to discuss a 1 metre wall that we're now trying to find in a hundreds of pages agenda. So no, I don't rule on your point of order.
Well, I take offence to the scrimmaging through. I'm just going through the planning scheme as it stands. It relies on performance criteria. The proposed Unit 2 is located at the rear of the lot. However, the development includes a retaining wall approximately 14.5 metres in length and 1 metre in height, with a setback of around 0.4 metres from the primary frontage. Therefore, the proposal relies on performance criteria. It wasn't quoted in the table at the front, and I'd like an explanation.
Point of order, please.
Thank you, Chair.
This aggression is not appropriate, Councillor Walker. This is a formal warning to you that if you cannot calm yourself and if you don't speak to me respectfully, you will be asked to leave the chamber.
I'm calm, thank you, Mayor, but I'll make my point.
You make your point several times through a council meeting, Councillor Walker, so I'm taking this opportunity to say, once again, council officers are available. The CEO circulated stating that council officers are available, and that is our duty to our community to not come in here 1 day a week. And I know that you don't do just 1 day a week, you do much more than that. But that is the reflection that can be taken, and that is our duty to our community. Executive Leader.
Councillor Walker, would it be possible to just get clarification, please, on the exact question? I think I've found the note you're referring to on page 47 of the agenda. Proposed Unit 2 is located at the rear of the lot. However, the development includes a retaining wall approximately 14.5 metres in length and 1 metre in height, with the setback of around 0.4 from the primary frontage. Therefore, the proposal relies on performance criteria. Was that the item, Councillor Walker?
That is correct.
And what's your specific question, sorry?
My question is that wasn't included in the table at the beginning of the item, which does point out the discrepancies that rely on performance criteria. And I was just querying how that particular item is deemed to meet the performance criteria.
I believe it is in the table at the front here, Councillor Walker, on page 47, but I'll pass to our Senior Leader of City Development.
Just to be clear, the plans show the retaining wall in these sections. So the retaining wall is in this element here. Is this element here, and it's shown in these sections. And the retaining wall is required because the driveway goes up to the rear, and to facilitate the required grades, there is a little bit of cut and fill required. So on the boundary, there will be a short wall to help facilitate getting the grade. Does that answer your question? Is that what you were concerned about?
I fully understand the wall and the reason and to what it's referring to. What I'm asking is, how does it, through performance criteria, meet the standard? Because what we're being told is it doesn't on page 47.
So the performance criteria states a dwelling must have a setback from a frontage that is compatible with the streetscape, having regard to topographical constraints. And this isn't a dwelling in a sense, but because it facilitates the dwelling, it gets caught in the performance criteria. But given this is a low retaining wall on the side boundary, we're not considering that is not compatible with the streetscape. There are quite a few low retaining walls in the Melbourne Street area. So our assessment is that is compatible, having regard to the topographical constraints, which is the required test.
Any further contributions? Councillor Walker.
To speak, thank you, Chair. Look, it may be that performance criteria and acceptable solutions are alternative pathways towards meeting the planning scheme. But at the same time, when the performance criteria add up the acceptable solutions sort of add up, it does start to get problematic. Now, I'm not saying that that particular retaining wall is the problem of this. I'm not saying even the overshadowing. I think in some respects it's a lot better than many others that we have seen. The deck at the back does rely on performance criteria because it does go close to that back setback. And I think that is potentially problematic for the neighbours behind, because now you'll have people potentially using that deck because it is listed as supporting the acceptable solution for outdoor space. So therefore, you would expect that people are going to use it as outdoor space. Certainly, one performance criteria relies on another performance criteria in that particular case. I don't believe that the overshadowing is the greatest issue, and normally it would be because something is outside the building envelope that the associated overshadowing would be the problem, and that's not the case here. What is the case here is that if this couldn't be a subdivision, it has to be a strata title for it to actually be developed, because the land size doesn't support subdivision. So in actual fact, while we do support infill, it is the case that it is changing the nature of that particular area, which is by and large single dwellings on single properties. And if indeed a property was big enough, you might expect that it could get subdivided and an additional property included. But in this case, it has to be strata, and it has to rely heavily on the performance criteria. And I do believe the amenity of the adjoining neighbours at the back are being detrimentally affected, especially by the encroachment on that rear setback by that deck. I'm not clear if that deck is included in the property, in the building itself. I suppose it has to be, really, even though it's 4 metres for the building itself. It's a lot less than half for the deck. And on that front, I will not be supporting the recommendation today. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Any further contributions? Councillor Kai.
Yes, I have to agree with Councillor Walker there. This DA seems to have a lot of unclear plans and things like, and just the thing seems quite messy. And I look through here, a lot of, as you say, performance criteria and acceptable solution is the same thing, but it's not quite the same thing. So I feel that performance criteria is an interpretation of the planning scheme. So it really depends on who's interpreting it. So the way you see it might not be the same as the way I see it. And I look down here and there is at least 6 issues that relies on the performance criteria. If we include Councillor Walker's wall, that makes it 7 issues. And there are a lot of other things that we can't talk about in the planning scheme, such as the visual amenities. I've got photos of the back fence where the neighbouring property, this property practically has just covered the whole of their back sunroom. I think it's a sunroom out there. And it's not only, I know we're not allowed to talk, well, I don't know if we're allowed to talk about the shadowing diagrams here. So I'm looking at the shadowing diagram, which, because it's within the envelope, it's not to be used in here. But if you look, they practically have sun, probably, that's if they get sun in the morning, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and by 11 o'clock, or even at 10 o'clock, it's already overshadowed. So there's that big possibility all through winter that sunroom they've got in the back will not see sun at all. So maybe if they're lucky, they'll get a little bit of sun at 9 o'clock, and that's pretty much it. So in terms of their planning scheme, I would have to disagree that all the performance criteria does meet the planning scheme. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be supporting this development application. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kai. Any further contributions? Anything to close, Councillor Pentridge?
A good conversation about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Cool. We've got Councillor Gibson, Walker, McMahon and Kai against. The motion is carried. As we no longer sit as planning authority, we move through the agenda to item number 12. But we're going to meet back here. We're going to go on a 5-minute until 12 o'clock. Stretch legs.
Adjourn.
Okay, councillors, we're going to move back through the agenda now, but it's come to the council's attention that item number 19.1, it has been asked of the council to bring forward. This would require a vote, an absolute majority. If it was the will of the council, the will of the table to move forward the approval conversation of 76 Cimitiere Street. It's been moved to bring it forward by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Harris. All those in favour? All councillors present, we will move forward that agenda item. So at 19.1, it has been noted that there is a declaration of interest from Councillor Kai. Now, before we do get to the recommendation, we'll open it to the floor for public representation.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for that, and CEO. Nancy Ciricia, 25 West Park Drive. I'm speaking against this item as I don't believe the procedure followed on the day of that meeting, 21st of August, was transparent and fair. And wow, having listened to the discussion today on Dolerite Drive and also Melbourne Street, we would have loved such an opportunity to hear the councillors' views on 76 Cimitiere Street. However, my concerns are what constituted a quorum on the day, as there were only 10 sworn-in councillors, not 12, and why the General Manager did not seek permission from Minister Vincent for Councillor Kai to stay in the chambers so as to retain a quorum, when he knew a quorum might be difficult to achieve. He actually said in a reply to a request for a special meeting on that day that he didn't think a quorum would be possible, although it could be allowed, but he didn't think the quorum would be possible. So in other words, forget about it. Added to this, why was the decision made the very next day after the meeting without, I suspect, giving Councillor Walker the opportunity of exploring the possibility of a special meeting being held before the 1st of September, the deemed approval date? Strangely, a special meeting was permitted for another development, Kilafatti Road, just days after verbally the request was made for one at 76 Cimitiere Street. The deemed approval of that for Kilafatti Road was the 2nd of September. Another concern I have is why the General Manager and Mayor allowed a councillor to form a part of a quorum of the meeting on the 21st of August to vote on disposal of council's easement, 76 Cimitiere Street, when she'd previously declared an interest in the DA of this address. I feel she may have been puzzled about this herself, as she takes her duties very seriously. The fact that the declaration of interest related to an association with a representative against the development did not negate the fact that the disposal of easement item was about the very same property. To put it simply, I don't think the handling of the development application at the meeting of the 21st of August passes the pub test. The concerned residents of Lawrence and Cimitiere Street were denied. I'm nearly finished. Can I? Thank you, Mayor. The concerned residents of Lawrence and Cimitiere Street were denied the opportunity to express our disapproval verbally in front of the councillors, who in turn were denied the opportunity to act as the planning authority. We would have liked some possibility of maybe some amendments being added in regard to height, form and colour scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further contributions? Cool. We will move forward to the recommendation. The recommendation being that Council notes that 76 Cimitiere Street, Launceston, has since been approved for visitor accommodation, construction of a hotel, and it was unable to be tabled on the 21st of August, as well as the written of the approval for the 25th, and in the letter, representatives were advised that the 14 days of date was lodged and they'll be able to lodge an appeal with the TASCAT. Okay, somebody to move? Deputy Mayor?
I acknowledge the comments made by the Speaker.
I just need excuse me, seconded by Councillor Britton.
Apologies for jumping the gun. I acknowledge the comments made by the Speaker, and I hope there'll be good responses come back in relation to those. But I do note that this is for noting only because the decision actually has been made. So I think that we're just noting that the decision was made.
Thank you, Deputy. Councillor Britton? Contributions, Councillor Walker?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to say briefly that I might be corrected if I'm wrong, but I don't imagine this had to be put in today's agenda, but I appreciate the fact that it has been in there just so that we can note the decision was made, and I'm sure that nothing that happened, I don't believe intentionally. It was the way that things transpired, and this is what we have left. So similarly, I hope those questions are answered and that we all move on.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Further contributions? Anything further to close to the vote? All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Gibson against? The motion is carried. Oh, crikey, that woke me up. So now that's done. So now we will move back through the agenda to where we were at 12. 12.1 is the mayoral announcements. They're published. Councillor reports. Councillor reports at 13. Councillor reports, Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes. I'll work backwards because that's how I've done it. Yesterday I attended the Princess Theatre along with Councillor Marsden and Councillor Priest to have a look at the theatre seating. So that was an interesting exercise of what could be done there. Also in the morning I was up very early, out at 5:45 with the Out of the Shadows walk, which was a walk supporting those affected by suicide. A group of about 30 or 40 people gathered in City Park for a rather solemn walk around the park before having a light breakfast. And I do thank the council officers column for the work that he did to help put that event on with Lifeline. It is a very important recognition that suicide continues in our society, and whilst many of us may not have had it affect us directly, there is always people we know that would have been affected by this. I also had the pleasure of attending the Business Excellence Award along with yourselves and Councillor Palmer on Saturday the 30th, where the very best of Launceston's businesses won their awards, and I congratulate the 175-year-old Chamber of Commerce for putting on such business awards, as well as the Life member. I think the Life member was Donna Bain and the new legend was John Kerwin, or have I got it round the other way? Needless to say, both of those people are very worthy members of the Chamber of Commerce and have been for some time. Follow up to that, I attended the winners' brunch at the Alida restaurant, where they had the opportunity to present the winner, the overall winner of all the businesses. They select one to be the winner. He wasn't there on the Saturday night because he runs a restaurant. He had to go home. He did come to the brunch, and so he was able to be presented with his award, which was a nice touch. Other than that, my Franklin House committee, which I sit on as council representative, it's very pleasing to see, finally, for anyone who's ever been to Franklin House, that the stables area has now, of Franklin House, has long been affected by subsidence, and it now has had that work, remedial work done to help stop that, and that will help preserve what is an outstanding Georgian property from the 1850s for probably the next 50 or 100 years. And the tradesmen that have done that, unfortunately, did not have a young assistant. And it's interesting, the conversations we have about heritage in this town is that unless those trades are being passed on, then the chances of this type of work being able to be done correctly, and it did involve remedial work of where people without the right skill set had attempted to fix the problem of subsistence with an old building unsuccessfully. And so it just brings to our mind some of the work that our Heritage Committee people do to preserve our heritage around the city. But that's me for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harris. Further community reports? Deputy Mayor?
Along with you, Mayor, I attended the Guides Dogs Tasmania graduation ceremony last week, and I have to say I wasn't sure what I was going to, but when I got there, it was absolutely amazing, and Councillor Palmer's wife was the keynote speaker there, who did a fantastic job. But what a organisation it is, and what it does for people who are without sight or needing some assistance with the assistance dogs as well as the guide dogs, and another category of dogs, the ones that go into homes and things like that. Just amazing, how the training aspects go on, the dedication of the volunteers put the work into training the dogs to actually be useful to people who have eyesight issues. I think it was just fantastic, and the way they did it was really, really fantastic. The dogs were the stars of the show, but certainly the volunteers who actually participated and the users of those dogs were brought to the front and attention of things. So it was a great ceremony. And also just noting that I attended the launch of Festivale. I think Councillor Marsden was there as well, represented the city at that last Thursday night, and it looks like another great fair ahead of us in February next year, so looking forward to it.
Thank you, Deputy. Further contributions? Councillor Breeze.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say that Councillor Marsden and myself attended the grand opening of the Clifford Craig Research Innovation Centre in the Northern Integrated Care Centre at Franklin Street at the back of the Launceston General Hospital. It was a beautiful Friday afternoon. The sun was shining, and we were able to have the ceremony out on the deck facing West Launceston. It was very enjoyable. There was lots of praise for this new research centre that is, I think, the first regional research centre in Australia. So that's fantastic that it puts us on the map like that. And it was also great to see the first grant, or some grants given out to some young researchers there in the new centre. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. I would just like to acknowledge the passing of Peter Doherty recently on the 25th of August. I think most people around the table would know that man. He was a founder of the City of Launceston Basketball Club in 1965. I spent quite a few years with him on the Moonbeam Children's Committee fundraising, and he also served as a councillor on the West Hamer Council. So I'd just like to acknowledge his service to our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Further councillor reports? Councillor Palmer?
Thank you, Mayor. On Saturday the 23rd of August, I attended the Feast on Tasmania event, headed up by the Rob Fairs Foundation. I think Mr. Ganinian he's here. He's a director. Yes. Congratulations on that. It was a wonderful night. The vision for this foundation is a Tasmania where communities come together to give every young person the opportunity to be the best version of themselves. So congratulations to Rob Fairs and his amazing team that do so much for disadvantaged youth across Tasmania. On Sunday, the 31st of August, I launched the very first in-house art exhibition at the courthouse in Lilydale. It was a wonderful day. There's many exclusive pieces there, from painting to pottery to jewellery and textiles and everything in between, and many one-off pieces that these artists have designed and put on show for the general public to go in there, and you can buy all the art if you want to. The exhibition is on until the 21st of September, so if you want to check that out, head down to Lilydale. A big shout out to a new small business in Launceston. Now, I'm going to get the name wrong, but it's K1 in Charles Street. I highly recommend it. Head along there. The food's delicious and the service is excellent. And finally, this week is the week of men's sheds. And a big shout out to the Kings Meadows Community Shed, Mooch, Phil, and a lovely man called Graham, who was celebrating his 94th birthday on Tuesday. Graham is a life member. Yes, there is sassafras, there's Huon Pine, there's Blackwood. These men make a whole range of different things. They've got a shop there if you want to go in there and purchase something for Christmas, perhaps. But these sheds are much more than blokes making things. There's stories, there's a hot cuppa. It's for blokes out there that don't have anyone in their life to go along and meet new people and share stories. And in some ways, it's a real lifesaver. So if you want to head along to the men's shed in Kings Meadows, please do. They welcome new members anytime. And yeah, that's it from me. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Any further reports? Councillor Kai.
Question, Councillor Palmer. Men's shed only for men. Can women go too? No? From what Councillor Harris was saying, yes, so the Heritage Advisory Committee, we do fund students to attend the Longford Academy to learn those special skills that are needed for heritage building, restoration and maintenances and things like that. So we do work on that. Okay, so I don't really have a report, but I would like to remind everyone that there is only 8 days left to get your submissions in for the City of Launceston's Heritage Sketch Competition. So remember to enter, simply create a 2D artwork representing a heritage place in Launceston, inspired by this year's theme, Our Place, Our Stories, along with your artwork, including a brief description of the place, building or object, and explain what Our Place, Our Stories means to you. There is $2,800 worth of prizes to be won, and the competition is open to students from kindergarten to year 12. So please make sure to submit your entries by the end of next Friday. So 8 days away. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Kai. Moving through the agenda then now, we've got questions by councillors at 14.1, questions on notice by councillors, which are published as a part of this agenda. So moving through to questions without notice by councillors, 14.2. Councillor Britton.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Mayor. I've just got two questions. My first one's very quick. I noticed in the published questions on notice, Councillor Harris's question regarding the graffiti and the graffiti kits. Just a quick question that popped into my head. We were initially in that motion going to purchase 1,500 kits. Happy to take this on notice, but I think we probably could start with about 150, so maybe we'll just get an update on how many we're going to buy.
Sure. Yep.
Take
that notice. Yep.
And my second question, and I want to caveat this, I'm not accusing anybody of anything bad here, but it's got to do with the flood mitigation strategy and just some dates. So on the 7th of March 2024, the motion was passed. Throughout the year, we obviously accomplished we got Pitt and Sherry to do a scoping study. It was 12 months later, almost to the day, on the 6th of March 2025, that in our reporting, that was the first time that it was said a recruitment process was underway. We're now almost identically 6 months ahead, and that is the same status report that we get in the updates at the current agenda. Now, I will note that I'm a little bit privy to some more information than this, and I know there has been a lot of work going on, but ultimately, it's been 18 months and we haven't even begun. It's my intent to bring to the next council meeting, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to read, but it will be my intent that we either begin to engage an external consultant to get quotes and timeframes around them being able to complete the work. Currently, as it sits, I think I'd feel a lot more comfortable if it was done by an external consultant. But ultimately, my question is, does the council have any date where we will concede that we cannot find anyone to do this work, and we will engage an external consultant or something of the like? Do we have a date? Thank you.
Yeah, we'll take that on notice then too, Councillor Britton, unless Executive Leader has an update.
Thanks, Councillor Britton. We are in a live recruitment process at the moment, and we've engaged an external consultant to assist us with that. I don't have the exact dates to hand, but I would like to close out this recruitment process officially. I understand that we've done pre-screening on at least one candidate, so I think that process probably, but I will confirm, should run its course by the end of this month, in which case I agree if we have a failed recruitment, our intention anyway was to explore engaging consultants to assist us with progressing this project.
Cool. Thank you, Executive Leader. Further questions? Councillor Gibson.
Thanks so much. 2 questions as per Regulation 34. My first one is, what is Council's current and strategic intent with regard to the never-ending issues associated with the inclinator at Cataract Gorge?
Sure. Thank you, Councillor Gibson. CEO, take it on notice.
Question 2, noting a recent councillor workshop where, I quote, councillors were provided an overview of the Visit Northern Tasmania agreement ahead of discussions regarding proposed renewal in 2026. My question specifically, what form will discussions take regarding renewal? So outside general management group of the region, what form will discussions take regarding that renewal?
CEO, take it on notice.
Thanks so much.
Any further questions with that notice? Okay, we'll move through 15 and 16, as we have no written notices of motion or committee reports identified in this agenda. 17, we've got connections and livability, with 17.1 being the Community Emissions Action Plan 25 to 35. It's been, recommendation is to approve the Community Emissions Action Plan, moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Walker. Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, the Community Emissions Action Plan. This was started back in 2019, one of the very first action items of the council that Councillor Walker and I joined back then. And now 6 years later, we now have a report for us and an action plan for us to endorse. So I think that probably indicates a tremendous amount of work that has to go in sometimes to a motion, but also at times things do take a lot longer than perhaps they should in an ideal world. And I guess that's really what Councillor Britton was saying about the recruitment process. But today we are here, and everything that's in that report is very readable, and if you haven't read it in full, I do recommend that people do take the time to read it. 33% of our emissions come from transport. Interestingly, today we approved a changing of the zoning to allow some light industrial land to become a supermarket that we've all agreed will be in fact accessible by motor vehicles in probably 90 to 95% of the time. And yet we have an action plan that says we should reduce the reliance on cars and as a means of people getting around their suburbs particularly. So this is very overdue and it's required, but it will also have long and far-reaching effects outside what many people may initially think. People may think that this is simply a reduction of what council does with its fleet and perhaps making them electric vehicles, etc. This has to be more than that. This has to be a way of all of the community looking at the way we interact. And that includes whether it be using a bike to go to the supermarket rather than the car. And particularly if it's only a few hundred metres, because almost 90% of vehicle trips are actually under 5 kilometres. So in fact, that is a very walkable or rideable distance, but yet we choose to go and get in your car first. And this is about making people think and making a change in their habits. Because if we don't, then we will see more of what we're already seeing. The intensity of wildfires, storm events with greater ferocity, even things as simple as wine unable to be grown in the northern parts of Australia as they once were, and Tasmania coming into its own to grow some of the wines that in the past they said we were too cold for. So this is a very important report and action plan for us. It will be wide-ranging, and I do want to thank the staff who've worked very diligently on it, and I thank Mick, who's now walked in. I don't know how much he had to do with it, but I suspect over there we have another staff member who's done probably a lot more of it, but it is something that is long overdue, And now the hard work begins, because now we have to implement it. And that will be the change to break the habits of a lifetime. Or in fact, for some people, it's the habits that their parents had as well. And we have to look at changes. If we don't, then the alternative, a little bit like our man was saying with the Spanish Heath, if we don't, then we will have to pass on to our children why we failed. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Councillor Walker is the seconder.
Thank you, Chair. And I do rise to sort of heartily endorse this action plan. And I think back to 2019 where the then Councillor Nick Daking moved the climate emergency motion, and I suppose in part this stems out of that. I see it as a challenge, and it's not just a challenge for Launceston, of course, it's for Tasmania, it's for Australia, and it's for the world. So we have to make it a positive challenge. There's no point, well, within reason, to try and be telling people what to do. People have to be motivated to contribute. Businesses have to be motivated to contribute. Farmers, the same. That has to come from that enthusiasm that is growing in the community to make the world a better place. And it's true that there will be councillors, if we don't do this in not just 50 years, not just 20 years, in 10 years and 5 years, there will be councillors who come here and say, why aren't you taking more action? Why aren't you stepping forward? Why aren't you encouraging our community to step forward together? And yes, we do have to do that together. I note references to other councils and other areas that have similar challenges, and indeed, there's some really innovative work that's being done out there in terms of councils supporting people getting solar panels for their homes through loans and things like that. Yes, we would like to see less reliance on cars, but this leads to a myriad of other things that we have to do. We have, you know, if we want more public sustainable transport, we have to have the option there for people, because whether it's me or whether it's you, we will take what's convenient, and that's just the reality of you know, living in Launceston. Would I like to see a better public transport service? Yes. Would I like to see more bike paths? Yes, but that's just a small part of it, really. We each have to challenge ourselves and challenge each other, and that's why I would like to see out of this those positive types of challenges, the innovations, and asking people to participate in that process. I remember once a Melbourne academic who was suggesting that we should all try to consume 10% less. And you might think, well, what does that do? But then he said the next year, try and consume 10% less again. And the next year, try and do the same again. It's raising that awareness of what I can do every step of the way, because the production of waste, we can all point in other directions, but that is a significant contribution here. And we can all do something in our own lives to improve that. Having looked through the report, I really think that this is the basis for building those things, for competitions, you know, for awareness campaigns, for working together with industry and with agriculture and with the community. So let's build on that. I think this is a fantastic document, and I would commend it to anyone listening to read through it. And it's a fantastic basis for Launceston, the municipality, because, you know, it's mentioned that it's not just the CBD of Launceston, even things such as, you know, when we talk about rainfall, it varies across our municipality. It's more on Mount Arthur than it is perhaps, you know, in Vermeil. So these are the types of things that we start to build awareness of, and therefore can build a host of responses. And that'll involve working with the state government. A lot of these things you look at, and the federal government, and you think, we can't do this alone. But again, in the document, there's the chore for us to lobby our counterparts on different levels of government. And that is part of our responsibility and the pleasure of being a councillor, that we can do that and lend our shoulder to that work. So I thank the staff for the preparation of this. spectacular basis. And, you know, let's all build on that together. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Further contributions, Councillor Kai?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to read a little section out here. Zero carbon energy, strong support for equitable community energy upgrade programs focusing on electrification, installation upgrades, solar, shared renewable energy models, and innovative precinct scale solutions. So the reason why I brought this up is I feel like we need to do more than what we're doing at the moment. If we want more people to install solar systems and things like that, we need to give them the protection that we are not giving them at the moment in the planning scheme. So, for example, like since I've been on this table, we have had quite a few development applications that has come in where the new building will be overshadowing people's solar systems, and they are not cheap. So I, for one, spent $36,000 on a solar system with battery so that I store the energy to use at night time. And with, for example, the Gorge Hotel that's building, they will be completely overshadowed, and it will not be usable. Is that the word? Which means if we're not protecting people to spend that sort of type of money, people are not going to want to spend that type of money for these solar installations and things like that. So there has been, I can remember, I think Middle Street or Badminton Street, there was another DA that went in where their solar system, the neighbour's solar system is also completely, or at least most of the day, overshadowed. So if we are not going to be doing anything to protect them, then I think it's a bit difficult for us to try and encourage people to install them. So I guess in a sense, it's probably more like a question. What can we do to, I guess this is probably more than just a council level. This is probably more state level, because the planning scheme is based statewide, so we really need the state government to maybe change or put something in the planning scheme to help protect people who has spent thousands and thousands of dollars on their solar systems. Is that a question? Is that a just? I don't. Thank you. I don't know if you have an answer.
It's a very valid question. It does come down to the planning scheme, and I guess it's something that we can put forward and advocate for in any updates or amendments.
Yep.
It's a very good question.
And if it needs a motion, a notice of motion to go ahead or start, could somebody in the executive team help me do that?
Yep.
So,
let's take that question offline, and we'll absolutely, CEO will help facilitate.
Okay.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you. I stand to support the motion today. Councillor Harris did mention 2019 when retired Councillor Daking brought the climate emergency, and subsequent to that we've done one on clean air as well, which I notice is not specifically referenced in here. But I'm happy that there's a separate process which will wind its way back in here. I think what we need to be also mindful of, whilst that might have been 2019 and here we are in 2025, I don't think that means we haven't been doing anything in the last 6 years. We have to firstly go out there and identify what it is that we want to do. That was seeking community support in regards to the sorts of things that they saw were important, which are outlined in the report. But along the way, we've been implementing things anyway, I know, with our waste areas and things like that. So there's lots of action happening now. And I guess the clear thing with any plan is having identifiable measurement points so that you can actually go back and see, and this has got those in there so we can actually go back and say, this is what we set out to do, how far down the line are we with where we are at any given time, appreciating that these things sometimes there are time lags associated with it. So I think to have a plan is important, but it doesn't mean that we've not been doing anything to date. So very pleased to support this.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Pentridge.
Mr. Mayor, just recently, look, I support anything that eliminates emissions. And just recently, I'd like to just remind everyone that this table voted to cancel the Tiger bus. It's been going for quite a few years. I mean, there was a perfect opportunity. I was disappointed at the time that, no, it hasn't been a rip-roaring success, I'll accept that. How long do you flog a dead horse? You know, you've got to ask yourself that. But really, when it comes to looking at the bigger picture, maybe we should have done a bit more work. And my understanding is the funding, it's not completely dead yet. I don't think it's been stopped, it's planned to be stopped. Maybe we need to look at it. Because there's one, and you know, in the reports, we indicate we look just one little bit at a time. There was a good opportunity that before we just kill it completely, let's see whether we can do something, because there's a way that we can contribute to saving some emission by using the bus. We've got a perfect car park down there at the museum. So if it makes sense,
great.
Let's look at it.
Great feedback. Thank you, Councillor Pentridge. Any further contributions from the table? To close, Councillor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I will just close by saying, as others have said, this is not just the work of council. We don't operate alone in this. Thankfully, our strategic plan, which we have in front of us, and soon to be launched, I believe, does, in fact, work in with this Community Emissions Action Plan. And I guess the what's next is going to be interesting. And I'll just give a very simple example. We collect rubbish regardless of how much rubbish you can fit in your bin. We don't weigh it. So there's no incentive for you to reduce, as an individual, your waste. However, we do weigh each bin when we pick it up. We do have a barcode on each bin to identify the address. And in fact, you could actually weigh, charge by weight, and therefore that could be something that we could investigate. I only know they weigh it because I had an overweight Fogo bin once and they wouldn't collect it because it weighed too much. So they obviously have something that triggers the weight. If not, maybe we can investigate how we make that work. So these are things that each of us will then be able to do, have their individual impact as well as because it is going to be the collective actions of individuals. And I do take what Councillor Kai said about the state and the planning scheme, what Councillor Pentridge said about the Tiger bus, and I think the introduction of the Metro app for each person to be able to see when their bus is or where it is in the way that you do at Uber will in fact help us generate more use of public transport. And in fact, I do hope that the Tiger bus is not dead, and I do hope it is simply being reimagined to see how it could be reformulated to actually meet our needs, because as Councillor Pentridge says, I don't think it was meeting our needs towards the end. So really happy to support this Community Emissions Action Plan, and I look forward to some quick wins if we can, to see what we can each do individually to actually make a difference to our environment and reduce our emissions. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Moving through to the Queen Victoria Museum and Art Gallery. 18.1, we've got the delegation of power to acquire contents for the QV mag. I don't have any noted speakers and nobody's in the gallery that has noted they want to speak. So we'll move straight to the recommendation. The recommendation is that Council delegates to the holders of the positions in column 1 as a part of the published agenda the functions and powers under the sections of the Local Government Act of 1993 specified in column 2, subject to any conditions that are listed in column 3. If you can't see those columns, they're in the agenda. Somebody please to move. Deputy Mayor? Seconded by Councillor Harris. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And look, I stand to support this. I was also the person who stood to move it be deferred a couple of meetings ago, purely for, I thought, misunderstanding of what this was actually intended to do. This is simply a governance activity to say that we actually haven't had proper delegations in place in the past. From my perspective, the council is acquiring these assets. They may be coming via donations to the foundation and so forth like that. And I don't see anything in here that's actually changing any of that. Then it goes up to MGAB and has them approve it, but it then needs signing off to go into the council's repertoire of assets. And I think simply this is all that is. We've delegated in other things. I know Councillor Pentridge is not a great believer in delegation, but to be honest, I don't want items coming back here and taking up our time at all times in regard to things which are reasonably standard and straightforward. My view is if there's anything gets out of order, we'll hear about it very quickly anyway. But from my perspective, this enables us to have a sensible delegation process for assets up to $100,000. I'm pleased you've now addressed the Friends of QVMag, and I think back through the QVMag board. Now everybody's on, I think, understanding is exactly what this is about, and let's deal with it and move on.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Harris is the second. Anything further? Anything further to contribute? Councillor Walker?
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for that abridged history from a Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to also clarify that this is not, it's not applicable to de-accessioning items, which was one concern that was expressed. And it is also the case that, yes, otherwise, potentially these things would come to council for a decision every time, and I would hardly expect that any of us are experts on what to purchase or not to purchase in that regard. I might be wrong, maybe there is an art critic or two around the table. This is about bridging that gap, and the things that there included the legal and compliance risk, the financial risk and the governance risk. I suppose I would just end by saying, look, I thank the community for responding when there was a lack of clarity or, you know, misunderstanding or whatever you might say. That's an important part of the process, that people do raise their concerns and that those concerns were addressed. What I would like to ask in concluding is for purchases over $100,000, does that mean that council should expect those decisions to come to the table now? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. And for clarification on that question, CEO?
Thank you, through the Chair. And Councillor Walker, that is correct. The process will still remain that MGAB will make a recommendation to Council, but those items with a value, whether it be purchased or donated, given the impact to our balance sheet and our asset holdings, will come to Council for approval.
Thank you. Further contributions? Anything? Oh, Councillor Kite?
I have a question. So the Mayor or CEO has gone to have a meeting with the Friends of QVMag. It's all in there? Right, okay, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Priest.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just, being a new mayor to this term, a new councillor, oh my God, I'm getting way ahead of myself. I just wanted to ask the question, how did you arrive at the sum of $100,000 as the acquisition amount?
Great. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Through the Chair to Councillor Priest, the number was derived from our legal team, which was consistent with the previous delegation that was applied for property acquisition. So we wanted consistency across those delegations applied to the CEO.
Councillor Pentridge?
I just would like to ask a simple question. How do our friends of the museum feel about this motion? Are they supportive of it? Well, there was a fair bit of criticism.
Sure, thank you for the clarification. We might go through the...
Has that been adequately explained to them?
Thank you. Through the Chair to Councillor Pentridge, and if there's anything further to add by the Executive Leader, I'll allow them also to add. I don't like to speak on behalf of other people, so I don't want to speak exactly on behalf of other people, but I can say that attending the most recent MGAB meeting, there was some overwhelming support and understanding for this position, primarily led by the independent chair of MGAB at that meeting.
Cool. Okay. Anything to close? Oh, contribution?
Yeah, just wanted to put it on the record that I'd just like to say thank you very much as well to our council officers for reaching out to the Friends of the QVMag, and may there be more of it. Communication is key, and I'd just like to say thank you very much.
Great. Nothing to close? Excellent. To the vote. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Gibson against? The motion is carried. Thanks, Ellie. Delivery and performance at 20.1, we've got 25-26 budget amendments. We've got the recommendation here being that Council, by an absolute majority, approves the published changes to the 2025-2026 statutory estimates as published. Somebody please to move. Got Councillor Britton moving, the Deputy Mayor seconding. Councillor Britton? Deputy Mayor?
These are just bringing forward things that were taken out of last year's budget.
Yep, great. Further questions or contributions? Councillor Priest?
Thank you, Mayor. I just had a question about the external funding not received. How come that hasn't been received yet?
Thank you for the question. Executive Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Priest. So we undertake an annual process as we come towards 30 June. External projects that haven't had funding received due to various milestones not being met, we take them out of the budget and then we put them back into the budget the following financial year. So what we're doing here is we're putting the external funds back against the capital projects. We fully expect to receive all of these funds. We just haven't hit the project milestones yet.
Thank you. Any further questions or contributions? Nothing to close? Cool. Okay. Putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. At 20.2, we've got the monthly financial performance report, with the recommendation being that we note the report that outlines both capital and operational results for the period ending the 31st of July. Somebody please to move. Deputy Mayor has moved, seconded by Councillor Harris. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And I guess this is our monthly budget for the first month, and usually things are going, and and again we get lots of variations over, I think, a monthly basis. I'm more interested in what the end of the first quarter looks like. Clearly, there's some savings made. There's some things we're behind on. Some of those are timing, and some of them are not. So I'm really interested to sort of get in what are our fixed savings and our fixed overruns. But I'd rather do that at a later stage when we get a little bit more runs on the road. So I'll probably be asking that at the end of the September report in regard to that. I did actually have one, and I think just from a point of view, it wasn't mentioned in there, rates rebates was an actual of $308,000 versus a $25,000 budget. Presumably that's just a timing matter.
Spot on. And what we're actually doing as part of our month end for the end of month just gone is we are shifting that budget. So the entire budget will be factored into the first couple of months, because we do process all our rate remissions, or the vast majority of our rate remissions in the first couple of months. That's obviously coming to council later on. So you won't see as big a budget variance moving forward.
Councillor Harris.
Just a comment, I suppose. It is the result for July rather than the end of financial year result, which, interestingly, when I first read it, I thought that's what I was reading. And as Councillor Mackenzie said, we've got to remember to look at it as it actually is. The underlying deficit of $2 million was forecast, but our actual result was only $340,000, primarily because $800,000 we didn't spend on our wages budget because of staff vacancies. In a quick summary, is that the thing? Because that seems a lot in staff vacancies.
It's certainly a mix between staff vacancies, and there's a comment in there, I think, about the workers' compensation burning cost adjustment, and that is purely a timing difference.
I don't understand burning costs, so maybe...
It is based on a previous year's claims that have been received, and the insurer then provides an adjustment. So we took up a provision at 30 June. That provision was reversed in July. As Councillor Mackenzie touched on, I would expect by the end of the first quarter of the financial year that is going to significantly even out. But what we can certainly provide moving forward is a more detailed breakdown of where the staff vacancies are across the different networks.
And the other thing is, when do we get to see the result of the end of financial year to June, other than our AGM, which is planned, I think, for early December? Will we see it as a item to us before?
Yes, we can certainly bring that to council. We are still in the process of having our financial statements audited. The TAS Audit Office have until the end of this month to sign their final audit documentation. So certainly once we've got that available, we can advise council of the financial result, but obviously the AGM is scheduled for the next couple of months where we'll bring the full annual report to Council.
Thank you, that's all.
Thanks, Councillor Harris. Further questions or contributions? Anything to close?
Just given that our budgeted conversation was about making some savings during the year, it'd be great at some stage, probably on a quarterly basis, that we see where we've actually gained some of those, if you like, savings that we're going to do, just working out how we might report on that back to the councillors.
Yeah, absolutely. That work has actually begun between the delivery and performance network, so the finance team specifically, and the strategy and innovation team will be leading the reporting on that. So that work is already underway and those conversations are happening.
Great. Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. At 20.3, we've got a lease with the Tasmanian Ambulance Service. Recommendation being that council by absolute majority decides to lease part of the land situated at 1C Georgetown Road, Newnham, for the purposes of providing an ambulance base identified in our agenda. Somebody please to move. Deputy Mayor's moved. Councillor Harris has seconded. Deputy Mayor.
I'm happy to move it on the basis that it's a very necessary matter that we actually approve this, I think. I just wanted to finish with one question in regard to it. My only thing, and given we've had a little bit of concern in recent times about where we have property that's ours and buildings that are somebody else's, as to whether in our lease terms we've got an understanding of what happens at the end of a lease, subject to us not renewing it, or Ambulance Tas stepping away from it. So I'm just interested to know what the financial arrangements, if any, do we just inherit the building, or is there some make good provisions?
Yes. There are some make good provisions within the lease with that one.
So do we assume ownership of it?
We have the option to do that, or they will remove the property. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Harris.
Yes, I do just have a question. If this is the ambulance station and it's been there since 2008, why do we continue to hold the land rather than sell the land to them?
We did have some discussions internally on that. This property is part of a couple of different titles that are situated on that land, so subdividing the land would take a significant amount of time. That's certainly something that we're going to consider into the future, but the need to get this lease in front of councillors was actually deemed to be more important than running through that process, but we certainly did consider that.
And my second question is just in the value of the lease at $12,000. How does that compare to what the previous lease had been, and to other leases to similar, I guess, state government instrumentalities who may well also be located on council-owned land? Is this a standard fee, or is it something that is more unique to this particular property? Is what I'm after.
So the rent was calculated on a recent valuation of the property. So they're on a commercial lease terms, so each lease is different based on that valuation of the particular property.
Great. I've got a question. Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. I just note that the current lease expired on the 22nd of November 2024. Just wondering why we're only just considering the new lease now.
We were waiting on the lessee to come to us and agree on the terms, basically.
So during that interim period, it was just in what's called holding over, which is written into the lease. That's fairly standard practice.
Yeah. Okay. Councillor Walker.
Councillor McMahon took care of my question.
Oh, great. Yep, Councillor Pentridge.
I would just like some clarification. I mean, what we seem to do on a regular basis, I mean, is this ambulance station actually manned, or is it just some land? And I mean, we seem to lose, in my opinion, I mean, our ambulance station at the top of Hobart Road is what, 5 miles away? Why are we putting the community at extra expense? Why do we need that facility there? And a cost to the overall community. I mean, a $12,000 lease for the ambulance, but no doubt we have to, as a community, we will fund that. So it's not that far away from our main base. So do we really need it? Or is it just a handover from the past?
Sure. That's a hard question for me to answer, Councillor Pentridge. I'm not familiar with Tas Ambulance's operations in terms of whether or not that's manned. Unfortunately, they've clearly made the decision that they need the site, and the rent that's been charged, the $12,000, that's just in line with the valuation and standard practice. So I can't comment on whether or not it's manned, unfortunately.
Thank you. Thanks for the question, though. Further contributions? Anything to close? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Thank you. Carried. Strategy and innovation. We have the sister city delegation to Ikeda, Japan in October 25 at 21.1. Before we get to the recommendation, Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, I'd just like to test an amended motion, which I hope will go up on the screen in a moment. And just to contextualise it, why is that we gave an expressions of interest some weeks ago in regards to people who might want to go to Ikeda, and I must admit I thought the process was that we'd discuss it before we came to council meeting about who actually might go, and certainly in seeing this agenda item today I was a bit shocked at the number of participants from council going or being approved to go. So my moved motion is to approve the sister city delegation visit to Ikeda from 28th of October to 2nd of November 2025 for the purpose of advancing strategic opportunities in education, blah, 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 as before. Approve the delegation comprising of the Mayor, and I'd like to change that to up to 4 councillors, not 5, with the Mayor and CEO being given the delegation to confirm final councillors who will be participating. I expect that to come back to a workshop next week or thereabouts. Approves the following community representatives be invited as part of the delegation. Unfortunately, they haven't been invited, so and I know from conversations the Mayor's had with the Honourable Don Wing that he's unable to attend. I've been in contact with Mr Stackhouse and he is interested but needs to know more about it as to whether he can attend. So I'm happy for those 2 to be invited, but noting that they haven't been actually invited at this point in time. And then I think the rest of it is notes of future budget amendment will be required to additional budget allocation to fund the shortfall of the sister city budget. This will be brought to the next available council meeting for formal approval should this recommendation be adopted. That's different to what we've got in there because there's a certain number, but I think that's appropriate because I think we need to make a decision of people we're going to fund so that we can move forward with this. Delegate the CEO the approval of up to 4 staff to be included to support the delegation, the staff representatives to include the CEO and other staff as determined by the CEO. This cost to be met from within the existing operational funding available from internal budgets. Receives a further report on the outcomes from the Ikeda sister city visit upon return from Japan. So I'd like to move that.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Seconded, Councillor Britton. Okay, and now to speak to the motion.
I've almost done that in my yeah, to be honest, I think this came as a surprise to me. I think other councillors that we were actually dealing with this today as a fait accompli. So my sense was to change it. I felt that 8 councillors going to Ikeda was overdone in relation to it. I know we need to meet the protocols in regards to they send a reasonable delegation out to Australia in March. So we need to get the balance of that right, but I felt that the community would probably be not satisfied with us sending two-thirds of our membership to Ikeda, and I certainly don't agree with it either. So my view is that 4 councillors plus the Mayor is a more appropriate number. I think we need to pay homage to our 60-year relationship with Ikeda. I think it's extremely important. I think we've put together some reasons for going and how we might be able to further our objects with them and learn some things to bring back to Tasmania, which I think Mr Ganninan this morning was referring to in his comments and questions that he asked. So I think this gets the balance about right.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Britton as the seconder.
Thank you. I'd just like to say, unfortunately, I am going to have to remove my name off that list. I'm not sure if that's relevant now or not. And perhaps a question or just a comment. I know there were conversations around potentially taking someone from Visit Northern Tasmania, potentially the Examiner, UTAS. I guess what I'm saying is I thought there was actually going to be a little bit more discussion around other people potentially being invited along. Is that going to happen, or are we sort of past that now? Thank you.
No, thank you, Councillor Britton. Great question. Executive Leader Jane.
Through the chair. Yes, that consultation will happen, that engagement will happen. We were waiting to bring this to Council first so that we knew that the trip was going to proceed. And we actually do have letters already drafted and a mail merge ready to go out, and appropriate phone calls will be made too.
Thank you.
Councillor McMahon.
Thank you. I'm not sure if it really matters at this stage, but I noticed in the planned itinerary highlights, it has farewell dinner on the evening of the 5th of November and the return date is actually the 2nd. So I'm not sure how that's going to work.
Sure. Thank you. Further contributions? Councillor Walker.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I thank the Deputy for bringing this amended motion forward. Look, I too struggled, and I'm sure that it's a delicate balance for us, and maybe the expectations, the culture around this are different in Tasmania than they are in Ikeda. We certainly received a large delegation from Japan, and that's an honour for us. It is a 60-year anniversary. It's also my 60th birthday this year, so I have a special affinity with it in that regard. But nonetheless, it is a special relationship, and I appreciate the efforts that have gone into the document in the public agenda today in regards to what we are seeking to achieve in furthering this relationship. I would add to that I would further like to, before a delegation goes, have definitive, at least MOUs ready to go with us, so which may need negotiation when they are there. But the areas that are listed in the agenda item in regards to educational opportunities and tourism and industry are certainly areas that we can't just explore. We need to build upon that relationship at some point if we're going to achieve something. And I reluctant to not meet the expectations of Ikeda, and I'm happy to learn more about that because they certainly sent a big delegation to Tasmania, and last thing I'd want is for that to be an insult to that relationship. But I think that we do need to express the cultural differences. I think perhaps it is the economy at the moment, but it is, we have to put a lens on it which is local, which is that people are going to be concerned of what the outcomes will be and how much money, in the end, the bottom line is that we spend on this relationship. But certainly support it still happening in a modified form. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Walker. Further contributions? Councillor Gibson.
Thanks so much. I just stand to say that I really believe in the sister city relationship. I believed in it when we had a sister city committee, and I still believe in it without the committee. That being said, I feel that this is the first time in at least a couple of years where there seems to be a good understanding of what a strong sister city relationship can achieve. It's kind of sat out in no man's land. There's been a significant body of economic reports done and undertaken with regard to what our sister cities could bring to Launceston and the region, and it feels like this is the first time in at least a few years that the division is fully realising what it could be. I think the report is outstanding, but I think it's important to note that we need to get our skates on. We've got letters ready to go, but there's only a month until departure. I'd like to reflect on previous visits where we had Launceston Church Grammar School, the Examiner newspaper, the Chamber of Commerce, representatives from Joseph Cromer Vineyard, Chamber of Commerce, I've mentioned, Launceston Central City, even in the past, Launceston College, visits from the City of Launceston International Choir to ICADA, and indeed past recipients and homestay members. So I think there is an interest in the past. We've also advertised to our community generally as community representatives to accompany the delegation at full cost. That was met with a couple of expressions and ultimately 2 members of the community who toured with us. I think there are already schools and institutions that have existing relationships with ICADA, i.e. the Grammar School, Scotch Oakburn College, Prospect High School, St Patrick's College. All of those should be at least invited to attend, because even though we're making a significant financial contribution to attend, and I note and I hope that the addition of 1 more staff member will be someone in the division who's doing all the work so far, that they will accompany the staff, going from 3 in the original motion to 4 in the amended one. It's when you are over there and have those conversations, when the business cards are exchanged, that there is a real opportunity for further growth. I note and accept point 6 was point 8 in the original motion, receive a further report on the outcomes from the ICADA Sister City visit upon the return from Japan. There's a great body of work, I think, that can be undertaken and can be linked strategically to what it is that we're doing, because it's linked from a tourism perspective, it's linked from the City of Gastronomy perspective, it's linked from an education perspective, and there's definite links from an arts and cultural perspective. So the visiting and the experiencing their amazing hospitality is one very important part of a relationship that has endured for 60 years, but it's the relationships and the contacts that will happen when we're there and what we do with them when we return that is most important. And I sincerely hope that we can, through our innovations, strategy, economic development, analytics and innovation, we can fully grasp once and for all what this and other sister city relationships can bring for our future in Launceston, because there's been that many reports and that much data dictating what growth and benefit can come from it. I fully believe that this is the opportunity, and we have the people now to fully realise what could come from a really strong sister city relationship with this and other sister cities. So it's a big expense regardless, whether you take 2 people out or not. And it sounds like 2 have already opted to take themselves out in the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Britton, reducing it to 6 in any case. We've added 1 additional staff member, which I think is appropriate, and hopefully it will be someone from the division. But it's an expense. It's what we do with the learnings that's important. And I don't think we've ever really cracked that. I believe this is the first opportunity that I have confidence that we will.
Thanks, Councillor Gibson. Further contributions? Anything to close, Deputy Mayor? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? That's all councillors present. The motion is carried. Thank you. 22, we've got the CEO network. 22.1, we have the status report on council decisions as at the 4th of September. Recommendation is to receive the report. Somebody to move? It's been moved by Councillor Britton, seconded by Councillor Walker. Any contributions from the table? Councillor Gibson.
Just to say, again, I really appreciate this initiative. In my almost 15 years, it's great to be able to see the transparency of where decisions have been made and where they're at. I note the cross-connection between some notices of motion and, just really appreciate this initiative.
Great, thank you. Anything further? Okay, putting it to the vote to accept. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. Status report on notices of motion as of the 4th of September. Recommendation to receive. Moved by Councillor Harris, seconded by Councillor Pentridge. Any contributions? No contributions from the table? To the vote, all those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We have no late items that have been identified, so we look to move to closed council at 24. Recommendation being we moved into closed session to discuss and consider the published items. Somebody to move? Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Palmer. All those in favour? All councillors present, we moved into closed council. Okay, councillors. Right, so moving out of closed council, we're now back into open council. Can I please have somebody move that the table of contents is a correct reflection of what was discussed? Councillor Palmer, Councillor Britton. Any comments, contributions? Okay, putting it to the vote. All those in favour? All councillors present, the motion is carried. We close today's meeting at 2:20 with the next council meeting here at 10:30 on the 2nd of October. Thank you, councillors. Thank you.